Hey, welcome everybody. This is very exciting for me. This is the very first, brand new, first video from this new YouTube channel. It's called Metal Shop Steve. Today, very first album review, one of my all-time favorite metal albums is by the group Extreme. That would be their second album, Extreme 2, Pornograffitti. What a great album. Again, I love it, so I'm kind of a fan here reviewing it. But no matter, this album for me just, it opens and it just hits you right in the mouth right away with this loud, brash rock and roll. And I guess first of all we should go and just talk about the group Extreme a little bit here for a minute. I think vastly underrated in terms of their musicianship and just the quality of the music they put out. Maybe a little bit overlooked. Also, for anybody out there, probably if you're watching this channel, you're not one of those people, but probably a lot of people out there know them just by that song, More Than Words. Huge, huge hit, #1 single for them. But if you liked that song back in the day and you got their album because you thought you were going to hear more just like it, you were totally blown out the door by what you heard, and rightfully so. Just really a great in-your-face rock album. Not that More Than Words was a bad song. I like the song. A lot of people like the song. Kind of a nice little interlude to the rest of what they're putting out there. But about the band a little bit in general. Lead singer Gary Cherone, Nuno Bettencourt, probably, in my opinion, one of the top guitarists of all time. Also, Paul Geary and Pat Badger just bringing up the rhythm section to this, bass, drums, all together, just providing this really tough backbeat for all the songs. Also, very underrated musicians as well. Now going forward, Nuno has kind of branched out on his own. Gary has branched out on his own a little bit too. You might remember after Extreme kind of took a hiatus back in the day that Gary was chosen to be the front man for a new Van Halen album after the departure of Sammy Hagar. I don't think the album did all that great. Maybe we'll review that one in the future too. But all the guys have kind of kept out there and have reformed. They're still going. What a solid group of musicians here. So let's talk about the album again a little bit here. The album itself ended up being certified double platinum. It got to somewhere around number 10 on the Billboard charts, probably mostly thanks to More Than Words. Also, they had another hit, a smaller hit with Wholehearted, kind of though in the same vein as More Than Words. You're not getting that really punchy, funky, in-your-face rock that the rest of the album is really known for. Again, so let's start off with just the way the album opens up. It kind of slowly builds from this quiet intro up into the first song, which is Decadence Dance, and it's relentless from there. The first 4 songs on this album are really kind of in a league of their own, and a great way to introduce yourself to just how hard Extreme rocks. We also have When I'm President, we have Little Jack Horny, and we have Get the Funk Out. My favorite would be Get the Funk Out, followed by When I'm President, and then from there Decadence Dance, I say. Those are probably my top 3 if I had to pick the top 3 songs. So this is just really, it's kind of a funky metal. Nuno just shreds on the guitar, and he gets so many wild sounds. You get these first 4 songs just cranking at you, and then as soon as Get the Funk Out grinds to a stop. Right from there, you go into More Than Words and the soft acoustic sounds and the harmonies, and so laid back, and it's kind of like you've stepped through a doorway into a completely different album at that point. But nice, again, great song. And then at the conclusion of More Than Words, you're kind of chilled out, you're feeling a little bit mellow, and then it rolls right back up again into the next barrage of metal. There are just, a lot of things to love about this album. Again, Gary Cherone's voice is everything that you want a rock singer to be. He can growl and he can scream it. He's got the high register in his voice as well. You know, he's kind of a good fit for every sort of thing that Extreme is looking to do here. Nuno, can't say enough about Nuno and his guitar work. Crunchy and squealy, and he's using harmonics and tapping and just any sort of technique that you've ever heard any kind of great guitarist do. This guy has it mastered, and then some. I believe, again, one of the top guitarists of all time. Stylistically, we talked about that a little bit. Now let's talk about subject matter. So just right away, the album cover you've seen, the album title, Pornograffitti, kind of a mix of pornography and graffiti. On first glance, you might look at this and think, wow, this is so typically a hair band album of that era, you know, sex, drugs, rock and roll. But once you start listening to the songs and you work your way through, if you really dig into those lyrics and hear what they're saying, it's more of a, I'd say, tongue-in-cheek look, kind of a social look at the excess of society at the time. These guys, if you kind of go on a progression throughout their future albums from here, you'll see that they are very socially conscious. They're political at times, and they just have deeper subject matter than you would think coming from a band from that era, probably, I would say. Decadence Dance, of course, the theme of decadence and excess in the world. Little Jack Horny, It, almost a Seven Deadly Sins kind of feel to this album, but with a smarter sort of commentary about it. Just a different look at it, a little bit more poignant, a little bit smarter than you would think just by taking a look at the names of the songs, the artwork, any of that to start out with. When I'm President, again, you know, talking about politics a little bit, purely in terms of a good time, get the funk out. And even there, the subject matter is a little bit like, hey, this is us, be who you want to be. If you don't like it, get the funk out, or however you want to phrase that. But it is a very, I think, if you listen to it, it's a very kind of uplifting song. It's a very about being an individual and doing your thing, and who cares what anybody else thinks. And not to mention, again, this is such a slamming, rocking song. And this one always pumps me up. I like to listen to this one when I drive. Probably one of my top favorite metal songs, again, of all time. I've been a cheerleader for the album a little bit here through the review. Every reviewer has their favorite albums. Why try to hide that? Why try to lie? Get around it. No point in that, really. One of the other little treats on this album you'll find at the start of He-Man Woman Hater, which is not really, you might think of it as kind of a sexist type of title, but a little bit more innocent than that. If anybody knows, way back in the day, the Little Rascals show, they had their club. It was a bunch of little boys, and their club was the He-Man Woman Haters Club. So, again, they're using something that might sound a little sinister here to start out, but really digging into that. And if you know your history, your TV history a little bit, you know what that's all about. But I digress. Back to the intro, it's just Nuno, his guitar, and blistering fretwork. It's like a crazy solo, just kind of everything you'd want out of a really great individual showpiece of work. So again, that's right at the start of He-Man Woman Hater. There is another song on the album called When I First Kissed You that kind of ventures off the track from just the style, the sound of the rest of the album. So I would kind of lump that in with More Than Words and Wholehearted. In terms of a softer approach, it's really even far different from More Than Words or Wholehearted because it's Gary and it's a piano and it's a little crooner kind of style. But it's great. It's like Gary can transform into whatever he needs to be vocally. And speaking of vocals, this group has just such amazing harmony. You heard a little bit of it on More Than Words, but even on their hard, fast, thrashing rock songs, there's always that harmony. And personally, I've always been a big fan of that. Don't get me wrong, I like bands that have a really unique growly kind of sound. Their singing might not be the highlight of all of it, but it really works. But I love a group that can sing. Gary can sing, Nuno can sing, And then even Paul and Pat add really great harmony, and it's so tight. It works really, really well together. So I'd say overall, again, maybe not the most recognized album out there. Maybe not even the best of their albums if you're talking about the evolution of a band. But there's just something so fundamentally raw and rock about this album. Maybe in the future we'll touch on some of their newer albums. Past that, you're going to find this in my car more often than not, on many occasions, just cranking this windows down and feeling really good about it. A lot of rock here, and one of my favorite albums. That's kind of where we're going to end up here with Extreme, with the review. Just happy to have you along, happy to be here talking, and again, please, please, please subscribe, comment, and let's do this together. All right, until next time, thanks.